Hi, I'm Evan of Evan Photography. I am a wife, mother of 3, and have been a professional photographer for over 12 years. I have a heart to help you capture better photos of your day-to-day life and the kids in it. My Photo Mamas Photography Masterclass will give you easy-to-understand tips on the creative and technical aspects of photography, so that after you watch this series, you will have the tools to capture those once-in-a-lifetime moments of your family with confidence and skill. Welcome, Photo Mamas! Hi, Photo Mamas! I'm Evan with Evan Photography, and I have a heart to help you capture better photos of your everyday life and the kids in it. I have moms that ask me, what are the buttons on my camera? What do they mean? How do I take the same great photos outside and inside? Or how do I make the background blurry in a photo and keep my subject in focus? These are some things that we will cover in this workshop. You will learn creative aspects that can help you with iPhone or DSLRs. You will also learn technical things such as ISO, aperture, shutter speed. Do not let these words scare you. We are going to teach you how to use them, and at the end of this workshop, you will know what they mean and how to use them. Whether you're a mom of kids, grandkids, or fur babies, I want to give you the skills to capture those moments in your everyday that you can cherish forever. If you get a dark photo, you're going to say, I can fix that. I know what setting to change. You will still need professional photos. I still even need professional photos of my family. We need to get in them sometime. But I want you to be able to capture those moments that you will cherish for a lifetime, and that's in your everyday, and you can do it. So put your camera to the side, grab a notepad and a pen, and we are going to get started on the creative side of photography. In this creative section, we will chat through light, perspective, and composition, all to help you see a photograph differently. I want you to see the photo before you actually take it. Whether you're using your nice camera or an iPhone, these tips will help make your photos so much more interesting. We're going to begin by discussing light. When I go into a home for a photo shoot, or even when I'm taking photos of my kids, I will look at where the best light is in the space. Typically, that's your window light. Window light is soft, it's an even lighting, and it's typically more flattering and gives definition to features. So you know where this is in your own home. Go find it. Is it in the kitchen in the morning, or is it in the afternoon in your living room? I had one moment where my son was 3 to 6 months old in his pack and play, and he was playing with all of his toys, laying down and just laughing, and I thought, oh my gosh, I gotta grab my camera. So I had him in this spot, but it was dark. I pulled his pack and play over to the best window light in my living room and took a photo, and it is one that I have cherished so much. Now that he's older, I look back on that moment and remember how sweet it is because it's such a soft light, it's bright, whereas if it had been dark, I might have deleted it. But this moment is one I will have forever. Another light is direct sunlight. Typically, this is not as flattering. It leads to more of a squint factor. It gives the raccoon circles under our eyes, and nobody likes that for their pictures. It's great for sports and action photography. Otherwise, it's not a great portrait type of light. So how do you take better pictures outside in the direct sun and make it more flattering? One way to do this is you can turn the subjects back to the sun, backlighting them, and it gives a nice, even, soft light on the front from the shadow. You can also shade them with an umbrella or another object nearby. You can move them into the shade. If you're saying, hey, come over here, let me move you over into the shade, they'll go with you. They'll let you take their picture and they'll like it more because it's more flattering. If I'm taking portraits of a small child and they're on the ground in the direct sun, I will either have the mom or dad step near me and shade them, or I will step over them myself, zoom in really tight and take a photo of their face. It shades them, it gives it a softer light, and they are no longer in that direct squinty sun. Another light is open shade. Open shade is caused by usually a building or a tree, some object that has caused an even distribution of light in an area. One example of this in my professional life is when I am doing a photo shoot in our downtown Main Street. One side of the street is shaded in the morning and the other side is shaded in the afternoon. So when I'm down there with my clients or with my kids, I'll say, let's go on this side of the street, or hey, let's walk and see what's over here. Obviously, I've looked ahead, I see where the softest light is, the best light is, the most evenly distributed light, and that's where I start taking my pictures. One way to add extra interest to open shade is backlighting. When you backlight your subject, it's typically done either at sunrise or sunset when the sun is at the lowest part of the horizon. Tips for shooting with backlighting is putting the sun to the back of your subject. You'll also want to make sure you're not shooting with a white background, and you want to put your camera on manual mode. The reason you do this is so the camera doesn't see a lot of light and then darken to compensate. We'll tell you more about how to use manual mode later in the series. When backlighting your subject, sometimes the sun will hit your lens, causing a flare. It gives either a haze or sometimes a ring of circles that will come on top of the photo. This is a really cool effect with backlighting, and photographers love using this, and I think you will too. Now let's talk about perspective. One thing that makes a photo more interesting is changing your perspective. Think about this. How about shooting on eye level with your subject? What is your subject? Your child or your dog? A lot of times we're looking down on them, and that's the photo that you're trying to take. Try getting on eye level with them. Try this. Get on the floor with your kids, roll around with the dog in the yard, and get a new perspective and get an interesting photo. Another way to include an interesting perspective is by including objects and details from the different life stages. When your kids are little, include some of their favorite toys in the photos. It takes you back to the moments in the stage of life that they were in. You can also use objects and details to show size. I had a friend who, when I took her kids' photos, that she was a little baby girl, and we put her next to a 180-pound English Mastiff. As this little girl has grown, we've taken her photos next to this dog, and you can see the stages that she's been in with him by her side. You can include objects in the photos that also show the passage of time. My sister and her husband had their first date on a bench in our downtown Main Street. They also went back and did some wedding photos on that same bench, and through the years I have photographed her maternity sessions on that bench along with their other family members that have been added to it. We've celebrated so many moments on that bench, and it's a great way to show through photos a new perspective and the passage of time. Don't forget parties and trips. When you're on your trip, take pictures not just of your family, but of the things in the stages in it. For instance, if everybody's flip-flops are lined up, you've got smallest to biggest. Those show the stages that you were in your life. I have a photo that I took on our first family beach trip together. It includes our beach bag, my husband's hat, my son's backpack, and my daughter's diaper bag, all in one shot. No people are included, just the stage of life that we were in for our very first beach trip as a family. It's a moment not anyone else will treasure, but I will, because I know that was our life stage, and that's how I recorded it. Another way to change your perspective is to zoom in or zoom out. By zooming in, you're getting obviously closer to the subject, but it can get a tight shot that brings more attention to the detail that you're trying to focus on. I have a photo of a chalkboard at a baby shower. In the photo, you could just zoom in on the chalkboard, it would be fine, but by zooming out and showing the foreground, even though it's blurry, it tells that this is a baby shower and what we're celebrating. You can also leave the background blurry and the foreground in focus. A photo I did of my friend's child, I let the husband and wife be in the background and had them talk amongst themselves, giggle and laugh at each other, which they loved. Little mini date time. While the daughter crawled towards me, I have her in focus. It would have been a great photo of just the little girl, but by having the husband and wife in the background, it just adds more to the story and makes it a more interesting photo. The last tip I will share with you about perspective is to change your point of view. For my kids, I do this, and for my photo sessions, I do this. I was on a photo shoot where I had a little girl in this soft, even shade, and she was so happy, so I am not gonna move her. I took a photo of her from this angle, went around to the side, shot her from the side, and then came over top and got a photo straight down. All these different ways I was changing my perspective, but did not have to move the little girl at all. She stayed happy. Whether it's a bride or a baby, they get fussy if you move them, so do not change them if they are happy in their spot. I do the same thing with my kids. I also look for the nice light first, go over to that even lighting like we've already talked about, and then get them happy, play with them, interact with them, and if they're doing good and happy, I'm not moving them at all. I'm gonna be changing my perspective to get a lot of photos of the same moment. So with perspective, whether it's eye level, including objects and details, zooming in, zooming out to show more of the foreground or background, or just changing your point of view, all of these things, whether you use a DSLR or an iPhone, will make your photos more interesting. The last creative element we will discuss is composition. Composition through negative space, framing, and leading lines. Negative space is the empty space that surrounds your subject. It can allow for more breathing room in the photo, and it can also help draw the person's eye to the subject. Negative space can also add some drama to show where the action is headed. For example, if it's at a sports game and the child is running a certain direction, leave some space ahead of them to show where they're going. Or they're looking up as snow or rain falls, whereas if snow is falling down from the sky, the person can be looking up and draw their eye, leaving a lot of empty space in the action of the snow falling. If someone's looking off to the side, leave some negative space to the side to show where they're looking towards, and it just adds a little bit more interest to the photograph. Framing is another way to draw your attention to the subject. Look for doorways, trees, windows, things that you can place around your subject, actually creating a framed look, and it draws attention and brings the eye to that subject. Leading lines are another great way to point to your subject. You can use a fence or a road to achieve this, different boardwalks down at the beach. If you're looking at a subject and they're along the fence line, you can change your perspective and have the fence line actually look like it's pointing to them. I like to put my child there on the boardwalk at the beach, go to the side, and have all of the lines point to them. You can also put them in the center of that boardwalk, and the lines from the fence and the railing actually point to the child. It draws more attention to them, and it just leads your eye till you get to the subject. So when composing a shot, try to include negative space, framing, or leading lines to make your photos more interesting and really pop. Here are some creative quick tips. Number 1, find where the light is best, not spotty. Look for that open shade that we talked about. Number 2, get your settings right first before you bring in the kids. We will learn about that in the next series. Stay tuned for technical. Number 3, bring on the kiddos. You can bribe whatever you need to do. Just don't tell them to smile. If that works for them, great. But you know what makes your kids laugh. You laugh too, and it's contagious. It's okay to photograph children individually. If I have one child that's having a great hair day, I will take that moment to pull them outside for some sweet photos of just them. You don't need all of your photos to be all of your kids together or all of your dogs actually looking perfect with their heads tilted to the side. Let your professional photographer work for that. This is your time to capture the moments of your family. If you get that great shot and you know it was good, don't keep shooting. Move on. Put your camera down. Let your family have a break. I have developed a rule with my oldest son that is the faster you smile, the faster you're done. And he does it. He smiles, and then as soon as he does it, I let him be done. Don't continue to agonize everybody by making them take more and more pictures. You will all be happier in the end. Here's some additional tips when you're photographing parties. You might think I'm crazy, but when I'm doing a baby shower for a friend, I will look in my house, see wherever the best window light is during that time of day, and that's where I will set up my food. Because that will be the best shots, right? We talked about window light. Put your food over by the window light and take the details of the things that you've prepared for them and give them those photos from the party. For outdoor parties, check out the spot in advance. Is the light better in the morning or in the afternoon? Plan your party time according to that. You'll get the softest light. It'll be more flattering for all of your guests. You'll be able to capture those details and cherish those moments for years to come. Now go practice, shoot often. Go to Photomama's Instagram and Facebook for more tips and tricks to try. The more you try, the better you will get and the more fun you will have doing it.